Good afternoon, everybody. This is the More Self Discovery Podcast, the podcast where we discuss a variety of topics that will lead you on the path to self discovery. I'm your host, Harriet Westmore, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we have a special guest who is a life coach herself, as I am, and she likes to help people to understand the complexities of racism. And without further ado, I'll let her go into it. But her background is her name is I'm sorry, her name is Clarissa Lafuselier.
Mhm.
Lafuselier, I'm sorry. Pretty last name.
Thank you.
She is a Black entrepreneur and a professional life coach, and she has a passion for helping others navigate through the adversity and to find personal growth and fulfillment. She does understand the unique challenges and obstacles faced by the Black community and believe in the power of mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and self healing. After overcoming her own struggles of depression and ADHD through therapy and conditioning, her resilience through goal setting and self care, she decided to become a certified life coach in 2019. So, without further ado, I welcome Clarissa, or we call her life coach Chloe. So,
Yeah.
welcome today. I appreciate you stopping by and talking with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, give me a little bit of background. I know you have a great bio, but tell me your challenges and what made you become a life coach.
Yeah, so I do lots of things. I've always been someone who has always been curious about learning and trying out new things, but I think what always been my cornerstone is how people are feeling and team morale and just the humanity aspect of how we go about our lives. So, I have done a lot in the tech community for, operations and human resources. And I think that just kind of snowballed into other things. And so I've done, um, you know, volunteer career coaching in my own community because in the tech community there's a lot of need for folks, especially those who are in our Black and brown communities, trying to pivot into tech. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what you don't know, and having people who can help guide you and give you input of their experience to hope that it kind of fuels you to move forward. I was doing a lot of that, so I was already doing things like career coaching. As a leader, I've done lots of coaching for my employees and all my direct reports. That's one of the things that I enjoyed the most about
Mm-hmm.
being a manager, is being able to help people grow, help my employees grow. So I think all of that just kind of just been baked in my personality. So I just took it to the next steps, which is I wanted to help my company at the time be more inclusive. When you're that one person in the organization that people feel like they can trust you and they can kind of vent about what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in the workplace. I was starting to get very disheartened because I seen a lot of really great talent that looked like me, that was, feeling discriminated against. They feel
Mm-hmm.
like they didn't fit in their workplace. Um, and I just got tired of hearing it, frankly, and just wanted to do something do something about it. I wanted to see if there's a possibility that I can help make these changes in the organization to where I don't see my friends leave, because they just aren't getting the value and not feeling valued in their work spot. And I think that moved me into studying anti-racism and the principles around diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And that was several years ago. That was about 7 years ago. And I had decided then that I was going to start being able to actually practice and consult on DEI after I kind of got my legs beneath me and had some really fantastic mentors that saw it in me that I didn't really see in myself.
Mm-hmm.
But carrying that on, doing my own therapy and unpacking some of my own isms,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of laid the foundation of being a personal coach. Just it just works, right? I'm already doing that in some level with executives in, my DEI consulting business, and that, and on a level, is personal coaching. And so that has kind of led me down this path, because as I was working with these executives, I started, behind closed doors, starting hearing some of their concerns and some of their worries of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get this, or I don't understand what this is about, or I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. All of
Right.
these, frankly, excuses,
Mm-hmm.
of what's holding them back from allowing diversity and inclusion to be a true principle in their workplace. So I was like, well, I'm going to start offering that to people, because I'm starting to hear more and more behind these closed doors that people would like to be less of the problem and more the solution.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can't be part of the solution if you don't know how to speak to it. If you
Right.
don't have that, what I call, and some of us call, racial literacy, being able
Mm-hmm.
to speak adequately about it, and being able to explain and articulate, and also be able to have space to unpack your own isms. All of us have some internalized isms
Right.
that we need to work towards. And for me, I always felt that if I'm going to coach, I'm going to coach the whole person. And anti racism is a part of your personal development and your personal growth. So why not?
So, which is a great. Tell the people who may not understand the dynamics of what diversity, inclusion, and equity means.
Yes, yes, because those terms get rolled around so much, sometimes their meaning just kind of disappears. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a good question. So I like to do it backwards. So let's talk about inclusion. Inclusion basically means that you are bringing in you're bringing in people from communities who have been historically marginalized, ignored, in essence devalued, and giving them, allowing them that space to be a part of everyone else's discussion, and not just be there, but actually have agency and power to be able to make changes and have a seat at the table as everybody else, right? So
Okay.
that's inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Equity is what a lot of people tend to forget or not quite understand, because they will conflate it with equality. They're not
Mm-hmm.
the same. So, long story short, equality is, let's say that you and I are, going to take a look at a baseball game over the fence, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is a very popular visual that's floating around in the community to help explain the difference. But we're trying to peek over this fence to see the game. Now, I am significantly shorter than you.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're standing on the same ground together, we both have access to the same piece of fence. That's equal.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not equal for me. I'm shorter and I can't see over the fence. You can see over the fence because you're taller than me. These are
Mm-hmm.
things that neither one of us have the opportunity to control physically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Equity is you getting me a crate or something safe for me to stand on, so I am able to see the game just like you can over the fence.
I
So
like that.
yeah, so that is what equity is. Equality is just giving everybody the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
in this kind of belief that everybody needs the same thing, which we know is not true, right?
Right.
Equity is giving people what they need to have a fair advantage as everybody else.
I like that analogy because it just from what you said, it's just like you're just leveling the playing field for those who are need the extra help.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Gotcha.
that's what equity is. And when you do those things, theoretically, if you focus on inclusion, bringing the people in the forefront who had been in the back for so long,
Mm-hmm.
giving them equity, allowing them to have the same level playing field as everybody else, then you're going to actually have diversity. Diversity is actually the goal. It's not the first thing that you seek out. It's the
Mm-hmm.
result of you being equitable, fair, just, and including the people who needs that power to be a part of the conversation as everybody else.
Great definition. It's just simple. I mean, when you break it down like that, I mean, it's very easy to understand because, like you said, you hear the uh, DEI, and people may not really understand what
Yeah,
what that really means. But the way your analogy and how you broke it down is really, I like the the example that you've put out there.
good.
So, with that being said, how receptive, once you decided that there is a definite need for to train a lot of these companies in DEI,
Mhm.
um, how receptive were companies coming to you to ask for help, or was there a lot of finagling, negotiations, and things?
So there's been a mixed bag. So the best examples are the ones who seek me out, and after we have our first conversation. So what I do is I, like any good practitioner, consultant, you need to kind of gauge the interest level of somebody who's working with you, because you want to be able to work with somebody who wants change, and
Right.
you're going to need to be able to be okay with that and subscribe to that if you're going to work on DEI work. However, we can't forget that there's a lot of performative behavior in organizations when it comes to anti racism and DEI.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, there's a lot of organizations that just want to appear that they're doing the work without
Mm,
actually doing the work. So we call
right.
that performative.
Mm-hmm.
So you might, what I do is, if you have a client that says, look, I just want to be able to do some unconscious bias trainings, and be able to do that for our company, and I'm like, no, then I'm not the consultant for you, because that is so like far down the line. We have already done lots of data and research to show that that is not helpful training,
Mm-hmm.
and actually does more harm than good, and it's really more of a check the box thing of like, hey, we did this training, now we're good, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you'll get some of that, whereas you just don't want to really deal with that, because that's a really good flag to tell you that if you want to actually make changes in their organization, like policy changes, like
Mm-hmm.
the love language of the oppressed is policy and law. If you want to change, if you want to show that you're caring and you're being an advocate, you need to change the books, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So when I start getting that feeling of, oh, I don't know if we're ready for that, then yeah, I'm not interested in working with them, and they honestly wouldn't get any value out of what I'm going to offer, because I lived under the hood in organizations of, how they hire, how they recruit, how they fire, how they
Mm-hmm.
manage. I want to know all of that, because I want to see where the gaps are, and how you do something for one thing may not be, equal and fair to others as well.
Right. Right.
So you'll get some of those who are kind of like, they just want to do the bare minimum so they can kind of check the box. But
Mm-hmm.
then you do run across those who are learning, however, means that they're trying to get this information to realize that, you know, this is not a dig at your organization or you for realizing, like, oh, maybe there's some change here. It's a dig when you don't do anything about it. You
Right.
know? So I have been fortunate to also run into clients who have seeked me out because they're like, look, we don't want to just do some training and just like wipe our hands and say we're good. We actually
Mm-hmm.
want someone to come in and tell us what we're doing wrong. If there is a discrimination potential issue, we want you to call it out. If there's a white supremacy issue in the way we treat our hires or the way I want you to call it out. We want you to help us fix it, because we don't want to be part of the problem. Those are the ones that we want to gravitate and we want to work with, right?
Right.
I want
Right.
those who are willing to pull things apart and restructure, because that's what it takes when you're managing, when you're dealing with systemic racism, is you have to change the system. That's how it
Mm-hmm.
works.
Absolutely. And listening to you say that, I've In my line of work, or the years that I've, worked in my field, which is, legal or law enforcement, we are mandated to go through the certain trainings, and I often wonder, especially the diversity or cultural training. And I always,
Mhm.
just listen to what you're saying and differentiate the the ability of to actually, if they actually want it, or if they're just doing it, to be honest, just to get that grant money or whatever,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
just like you said, check the box.
Yeah.
And so and you can tell by the dynamic of the class, I mean the administration, if they, which one is which.
Mhm.
And from what you're saying, the ones that are, who really want to, in their hearts, really want to do what's best for the company and for their staff, and really want to be a part of the solution rather than, the ongoing problem. And I
Yeah.
would think that would be the idea, like you said, the idea, and a very great collaboration to work with. And
Yeah.
with that being said, how are the staff themselves, not only the, the executive, but the staff, how what's their reception of that, of your training?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think in times where I've worked with organizations where we ended up doing some trainings, the way that it usually rolls out is I go in and we need to find out if there's a problem first. Like
Mhm.
I've been in operations for many years, and my thing is first show that there's a problem. So every good DEI practitioner in work is done by gathering data. I want to talk to the employees. I don't just want
Mhm.
to talk to the execs. I want to talk to the staff. I want to like get some focus groups and learn from them, from their own lips.
Mhm.
How are
Mhm.
things going? How are they feeling? I want to be able to aggregate that information, because what I tell my clients, and uh, you know, I'm think I'm going to be in another discussion this month about it, is I tell my clients I don't work for them. They might sign my checks, but if I'm working for an organization, my duty is to their employees. I work for
Mhm.
them because they're the ones that's going to get the effects on all the changes that we do here.
Mhm.
So I want to hear from them. I want to know what's going on from them, what they need, what they feel like that the organization is lacking. And then I want to be able to determine, okay, so maybe we have some opportunity to help, like maybe mid management or the leadership learn more about how to be good coaches and how to be good mentors,
Mhm.
how to sponsor people, like how to sponsor Black women. I tell white men and white women who are in very high levels of power and position in organizations of you can use that influence. Everyone who has any kind of political or social capital, you being a part of the solution is using that to help someone else.
Right.
And one of the things that we miss a lot in our professional lives is mentorship and sponsorship. And sponsorship is being able to advocate for somebody when they're not in the room. So if you're a sponsor for a Black woman, you're in these rooms where they're talking about new opportunities, new jobs, new projects that could help elevate somebody that you know. And there's a Black employee that you know does good work.
Mhm.
Advocate for them, speak up for them, mention their names. Like this person would be good for this opportunity. You might want to reach out to them. These are like the kind of things that we want to teach the staff and make and see that when we talk about these things around DEI, what people tend to start realizing is, well, this stuff is kind of like kind of human resources kind of stuff. It's not anything like, yes, it's
There you
exactly
go. Right.
not anything. This is not rocket science. This is not some kind of, villain propaganda stuff that's coming to, change and like do any kind of uh reverse discrimination. Like that term doesn't even exist, but that's what
Mhm.
people would want to say. It's none of that. It's really just making sure that you are being good to your employees, treating them like human beings, treating them like you care, and offering them opportunities for growth, which is people like you and me who are coaches. This is something that just makes sense. It doesn't
Right.
feel like anything that's, a difficult, concept to, adopt. But sometimes when people just hear that word, they don't
Mhm.
associate it with things like mentorship, sponsorship, making sure that there is, understanding around flexible times for those who are caretakers. All
Mhm.
that stuff is DEI work.
Right.
And so, like, the staff are the ones that are usually pushing for this. They just don't have the power.
Mhm.
So normally they have to find a champion who is an exec to say, we need somebody to come in here and help us with this because we need to. But
So
normally it's the staff that are just like, yeah, bring in a consultant,
right,
have them
right.
help us.
And I'm sure they tell you, it's not nothing script. They tell you exactly what's going on and how they feel as far as what has been, how they feel as being devalued
Yep.
as you know, an employee. So after they go through the program, after you've bring them the tools and the resources that they need, have you seen what are the best outcomes that you've seen?
Yeah. So I have been proud to see, like, so my niche is also working with smaller businesses because they have more of a challenge, right? When you're working with a Fortune 500 company, they have millions of dollars that
Right.
they can throw at, potential solutions and changes and things. But when you are a smaller business and you still have a responsibility to make a fair and inclusive workplace for your employees, it gets a little hard of people trying to understand what that looks like when you don't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of money or dollars. But
Mm-hmm.
once they learn from me that there's lots of things that they can do that doesn't require, a whole lot of, monetary lift, they start to understand that these are things that they can do sustainably. And that's my goal is I want to come in and help you do these things to where even though you have a small staff, you can still keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is, an employee resource group, which are pretty big in a lot of organizations. They're kind of like affinity groups, but they're focused on identities.
Mm.
So, if you have those who are Black women in tech, will normally have an employee business group for, you know, any kind of Black professionals that want to learn and connect to the community with other Black professionals. And then it helps the company because that's part of your brand that's going out
Mm-hmm.
there. And
Mm-hmm.
you're also helping your employees meet with each other, network, work with also the external community, and help elevate each other. And if those employees who don't identify with that community but want to help, then they can be a part of that. And the actual employee resource group can help give them understanding of, like, here's how you can help us, here's how you can be better advocates in the community, here's how you can be just basically a better human being to your employees, right?
Right.
So
Right.
those type of things I like to work on with companies so they have something that is continued, and their champions, who are usually people in their staff, are not getting burnt out, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what typically happens. It's usually somebody like us, one of us, because that's how I did, how
Mm-hmm.
I started
Mm-hmm.
is you're the first person to say something, you want to be part of the change, and then you go in. But if they're not giving you additional resources, they're not paying you more, because they normally like to put that work on us just because we're interested in it, but we still need to be paid for that work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Pay your people.
Right.
Then you start burning out your champions, and then they leave, and then that's when everything falls down, because
Mm-hmm.
they've just kind of was running on that one or two people to keep everything moving, and just kind of forgot about it. But then when they get burnt out, there's nobody else to carry the torch.
Right.
So we do a lot of work on that with sustainability. And so one of my latest clients, I check in on them. So I check in on my clients like every 6 months just to
Mm-hmm.
see how things are going. They had finally um, had kicked off their first employee resource group, and they had their um, newly set up committee, and they have been running through like goals for the year, and they set up a payment like incentive program to pay their employee resource group leads
Oh.
money to make sure
Mm.
that they have a stipend for the work that they're doing. And so they've been
Wow.
running that successfully, and they've been getting some things moving. Of course, you're going to find those clients are mostly eager for things to move faster, but
Mm-hmm.
I tell them not to worry about speed, make sure that things are just slowly progressing and moving to the next step, and then they'll get there, right? But some of these things do take a long time, and you just got to keep at it and not just kind of be quick to give up. So
Right.
seeing them do that, that's the kind of outcome I like to see in the work I do,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, when I pull data from them, which they have now, they actually, if I ask them about how's their demographics of those in management positions, they can pull data now, and that I see that, okay, so there is not just straight white, all across the board in all of our management. We have a mixture of women and men and non-binary people. We have a mix there of people in power. Then I'm saying that, like, then that's the work that you should be doing when you
Right.
making an equitable, fair environment and you're including the right folks. Then you're going to get that diversity of people. Like, that happens last. That's the goal.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I was, wanting to hear the outcome. Well, if somebody, got promoted and, there's
Hmm.
more, influx of diversity of people
Yep.
and they are implementing your strategies of what you have taught them. So if a company wanted to reach out to you, how can they do that for
So
training?
like two ways. So execs, if they're looking to like learn their own, to unpack their own isms and just be better execs and better
Mm-hmm.
leaders, I offer advocacy and anti-racism personal coaching at lifecoachclo.com.
Okay.
And they're welcome to sign up for sessions there, and we hit the ground running, and they get lots of education, lots of homework and books to work through. And yeah, it's been good for me to have a couple of executive clients who have, had a rapport with me, that they've trusted me to want to work in a private setting, and it has done wonders for their executive skills in
Mm-hmm.
unpacking this. I've been told that it helped them look at things a different way. It helped them lead in a different manner, because they're now understanding the different disparities that exist with people, and not just thinking that this is just a colorblind world and everybody gets the same piece of cake and all of that. Now that you lift up that veil, you tend to see things differently. Like, racism is kind of like a zit that if nobody really, like, if once you point at it, you can't unsee it. You will
Right.
see it everywhere now. You'll start to understand about the history of things and how things are now and how little has changed in the grand scheme of things. And then you start realizing, I don't want to perpetuate that. I want to change it.
Awesome. So for those who are watching, lifecoachclo.com is her website that you want to reach out to her to get some further understanding of your biases and how to change some of those. I mean, we, like you said, we all have them.
Hmm.
And it's not about, you know, we're not we're all trying to have create the same goal in our company and to keep our company moving forward. We don't have to do a kumbaya type thing, and that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
It may happen, it may not.
It may not, yeah.
And yeah, but the end goal is teamwork, and
Yeah.
teamwork makes the dream work.
It really, really does. The collaboration that happens. So for companies that are interested, or if anyone knows that there's some organizations that want to work with me on a larger organizational scale, then I am a serial entrepreneur, of course, and so I have my DEI consultancy and inclusion.logic.com.
Okay, I
And
will have that in the show notes for the
yeah,
audio. Okay.
and they're welcome to reach out to me there, and I like to, have a free consultation that I meet with them and just kind of get an understanding of why they feel that they need a DEI consultant, because that really helps me see how serious and what some of the issues that they're encountering to help.
So this has been awesome. Life Coach Chloe has been. You can tell. I could just hear the passion of your voice of your job, and I just it is a well needed niche that you've carved out for yourself, and I want everybody to support. If you have any questions or just kind of just like you said, just want to personal some of the isms that you may be dealing with. I'm sure that life coach Chloe will be more than happy to, talk with you about it. So I really appreciate this. Has been a great conversation. For those, again, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe and just hit that like to get the algorithm going and to share. You may know someone or a company that could definitely benefit from life coach Chloe's services. Please pass that on to your colleagues. So once again, thank you so much, and I appreciate you, and I will be reaching out to you because I have another consult that I would like for you to do for one of my other businesses. So I will
Yeah.
be definitely reaching out to you about that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for having me so much here, Harriet. I really appreciate it and really love connecting with you. I love connecting with lots of life coaches who just, we're kind of a different breed. We want people to be the best selves, and
Absolutely.
we want to be our best selves. And so that's just a great place to be.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, you guys stay safe and have a great day.
Yeah, y'all have a good day.